Aidan O'Shea is 30 this summer. He's just been named Mayo captain for the year. Now the results aren't exactly going Mayo's way. They've 3 points after 4 games and they're in a relegation zone as we speak. But just Aidan himself, good choice as captain, bad choice?
Interesting choice, because I thought when James Horan came in and basically took the captaincy off Cillian O'Connor, now part of that was probably to do with the fact that he was injured and was only going to get back for championship, gave it to his younger brother Dermot, who everyone would see as a mainstay of Mayo for the next guts of a decade, probably. I would anyway, and a phenomenal leader in the way he plays. So I'm kind of surprised that he took it off him. I know he's had a few knocks and maybe had a few knocks last summer. Aidan O'Shea is kind of an ever-present though, isn't he?
Yeah, like he's always going to start in the team, even though like he's a lightning rod for criticism when things go wrong. He's always going to start. Dermot O'Connor was always going to start. Do you think it's a little bit strange taking it off him?
Yeah, it's
because even last summer, like his one chance at it was interrupted by that was it wrist injury?
Yeah, he had a bad wrist injury. He ended up starting the semi-final, didn't he, against Dublin, but he hadn't played for maybe 6 to 8 weeks
and
before
you could see that he hadn't.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because I'd say there's always a pretty fair amount of pressure on Aidan O'Shea playing for Mayo anyway, and as you said, with the amount of criticism that comes his way, I'm not sure. I think he'd still do a massive job for you. I don't think he needs to be captain, I'd say.
Is it a vote of confidence?
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
Is it Horan saying to the supporters, get behind this lad? And I'm not saying they don't.
I think they're behind him already.
Yeah, because he gets so much criticism from rival counties. I think that's going to sort of cement you and solidify people on your side to go, right, we're going to back our own man. And he was good against Dublin in the league the day that they were down to 14 men and they were really short-handed that day. They had a lot of guys, young lads thrown in there.
He rarely plays poorly.
Yeah, it's just some of those big Dublin games that hasn't happened for him.
I know. And you know what the funny thing is, and we've talked about this before, like that's like the 5%. Fair enough, it's the 5% to get you over the line, but the other 95% of the time he's usually quite dominant, you know.
Did you see the tweet from Tim O'Leary, the benefactor of Mayo over the weekend? He's the guy from the supporters club and they had that big hoolie there a few months ago. So he came out with a tweet over the weekend which basically said Horan out.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it's not so long since he was actually tweeting all about how he was the man for the job and all that kind of stuff. And he tweeted then again today. Now he seems to have deleted that tweet and said, sorry for my outburst yesterday. Had a few too many pints. Lesson learned. I'm going to keep my mouth shut going forward. Have a good week. And he's deleted the rest of the tweets.
He's not the only man. He's not the only man that said something. Thank God I don't drink, because God, I used to talk enough shite without drinking me, let alone if I had. So like everybody seems to have said things or made mistakes when they're drinking and stuff. Yeah, but like hashtag Horan out, he had tweeted. Yeah, it's a mad one, isn't it?
It's not ideal, because you know the way you always think things aren't perfect in Mayo and they've had their county board issues, and then this happens and you're like, it's more fuel for the fire and more reasons that people can have a cut at Mayo.
Yeah, if I was him and having got back in with the county board now, having been out with them for so long, you'd be even more careful to make sure not like that happens. But
so more red cards for Mayo, down to 13 men. Jordan Flynn, his second red card of the league. Padraig O'Hora sent off. Both, probably you could make a case that both were a little bit harsh. O'Hora's bit of a trailing arm, no need to do it. I suppose he's asking for trouble. Just to jump, so the final score there was 2-16, Monaghan, Mayo 13 points, so paddled fairly hard.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Now, the game did change a lot on the two sending offs. In fairness, they really struggled when they were down, man.
But unlike some teams, Monaghan made Mayo pay. They won by 1-5 to a point down the home stretch, so fair play to them for that.
And they're flying. To be fair to them, they are flying. They should have got a result down in Galway the first day, and they've gotten some really good results since then, in fairness to them. Yeah. And they've introduced like Micheál Bannigan. It's great to see. Niall Kearns is absolutely flying.
Conor McCarthy is flying.
Conor McCarthy as well, yeah. You've Desi Ward as well. You've a good few new kind of names. And I suppose we would have all questioned whether those kind of fresh faces were there and whether they'd stagnate and struggle under Banty. But they seem to be prospering fairly well. I know he's Conor Laverty as coach. He's got two. He's got Peter Donnelly as coach as well, as his strength and condition coach. He's got another good coach who I can't think of offhand. But it's all about who you surround yourself with, and they seem to be playing. They're playing a really attractive style as well.
Yeah. So Kerry beat Meath 119 to 213. So there's not a whole pile in it there. You're talking about 3 points. And Andy McEntee, who's been known to throw a bit of a wobbler after a couple of the games. We saw what happened against Tyrone last year in the qualifier. Had to be restrained, spoke a little bit over the top to a journalist, of course, as we know before. He came out with a comment about the 2 black cards that they got early on. And he came out with quite a quote now. He said, "We have the discussion every week. It seems to me, since we made an issue of some black cards that weren't doled out up in Tyrone, it seems to me that we're on the receiving end of it. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get me." Which is a great quote from one of the greatest books of all time, Catch-22 from Joseph Heller. Unbelievable book.
I haven't read it, but I shall read it now. I've read Catch Me If You Can, alright, but I haven't read Catch-22.
Not quite the same thing, but
it's a very good book.
Catch Me If You Can, Catch-22 can hardly be beaten. The whole phrase Catch-22 became from this book.
Was he being serious when he said this, like, or what?
I don't know. Maybe it was just a way to get his point across.
He looked like he was spitting fire in the TV interview, like literally. And I was just saying to you off air, he shook hands with Peter Keane, and it was just like, it was kind of like, it's just like he's been in a bad mood a lot recently. Like, they haven't won a league game. The other day was the first one where they actually looked like possibly getting a result.
Yeah.
They lost obviously they lost the last 3 championship games they played with the Super 8s as well. So it's 7 in a row. Having gone from going unbelievably well in Division 2 last year and getting a load of positive results, there's been a lot of negativity since.
Yeah, just think of it, 3 Super 8 losses in a row, and now you're looking at a league table, you know, where they've lost 4 in a row, minus 20 after that, so an average of 5-point losses. So yeah, he's under a bit of pressure. And actually, we might as well talk about the challenge to Dublin in Leinster. While we mentioned Meath, we might as well look at Kildare as well.
What challenge?
Because it's gone all Pete Tong there, because Kildare 13 points, Roscommon 2-11. It's just, I don't know, is it not happening? Is he going to need a year to get his feet under the table, this kind of thing? Because after 4 games, they've 3 losses, 1 win.
I watched the highlights, and they actually started really poorly. They were 4-0 down, I think, and totally got into the game and looked like they were, you know, not looked like they were going to win, but looked like it was going to be, there's going to be a point or two, and I think they were 11-9 up. Roscommon got a really good, really well worked team goal, and the whole game just changed basically. Got through for a penalty. Dubious enough, I think, because the foul was on Keamy Keane. I thought his 2 feet were outside, and he ended up inside. And there was a lot of deliberation about it, but I didn't think it was a penalty. They're not playing particularly well. I wonder, are they just overhyped in a lot of ways? I wonder, are they one of these teams that we think, oh, they've got a load of talent, yeah, they've a load of talent, but dude, I don't know, do they really? It's been the same type of players that we've been looking at. Have they delivered much over the last 4 to 5 years? Flashes of brilliance every now and then.
The legacy of all those players going to the AFL that time. Because, you know, some lads come back and hit the ground running. Most lads seem to take a couple of years to come back, and like Daniel Flynn had that brilliant season a couple of years ago. I think the Cribbins have been away, Niall Kelly was away, I'm sure there's someone else.
But it's funny how the narrative changes. When Kildare got to the Leinster final in 2017, one of the real positive points is should have got 4 or 5 former pro sports people, you know, pro athletes in their camp, and now it's like it takes, you know what I mean, like
maybe I'm stretching for something there, but
you know, and like Daniel Flynn yesterday, I thought the second goal, the Roscommon goal that they got the penalty from, it's kind of like Niall Daly just dusted him actually down the wing, just dusted him, and Daniel Flynn actually stopped chasing him, and Daly gave the pass away, went and got the other pass and passed it inside, and they got the penalty. That's
something that Paul Kerrigan got hammered for last year. It hasn't really been hit on too hard. We'll jump on to Galway beating Tyrone 225 to 12 points. Now Colin McShane is, after dislocating his ankle, it seems, out looking like he's out for 5 months. So just to look at him first of all, that is, what a turn in the space of a few weeks to go from an AFL contract to the job in Ireland and going to lead Tyrone this summer.
Yeah, it's pretty sick, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's pretty sick. It looks like he's like 5 months. 5 months from now is basically till the first week in August.
Yeah,
first week in August is All-Ireland semi-final time. So I don't know. That's not good.
Well, you have to get through the Super 8s. You have to get all the way to the Super 8s and through them.
So all of a sudden, all the pessimism that was around him leaving was gone the week he announced he was coming back and came on when they beat Kerry, and now all of a sudden it's back with a horrible bang. Yeah, it's not good. It's very tough on him personally, I'd say.
Actually, a week ago or a week and a half ago, you thought, and also Conor McKenna is going to be there, and that's 2 lads that we've taken from the AFL, but even the talk is that he might be coming back.
Yeah.
So what
back to the AFL.
Yeah. What a couple of weeks for Tyrone, the ups and downs of it.
Yeah, that's like he's their most important player. And, like they're basically missing their two most important players. They're both on the sidelines now. Matty Donnelly's out injured as well. The two kind of twin towers that worked in the forward line last year, so it's a disaster for them.
Yeah, quick word on Dublin Donegal. I've analysed this already, and you can have a look in the channel there. Did a piece with Jason Byrne. 115 to 114 for Dublin. Come from behind again to win. Before we go into all the ins and outs of it, do you look at this as again we're seeing holes in Dublin, or again we're seeing that when things are put up to them, they seem to always be able to find a way out?
Yeah, I kind of a bit of both, to be honest with you. You can't keep doing this as well, and if they have to do this in a big championship knockout game, come from behind, it won't be as easy as it is in the league. Maybe.
It might be papering over the cracks because
could be.
You know, the bottom line is they've won 2 games, they've drawn 2 games. Whereas if they had to have a loss, that changes the narratives, and they might think, what do we need to change here? Really interesting that Craig Diaz had his first outing for Dublin since 2013.
Yeah. And
Desi said afterwards, it was a big ask for him for sure. We took him in about 10 days ago. What is going on that you're going to take a guy who hasn't played for 7 years and bring him into the panel and 10 days later throw him in? What does that say about your panel?
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, never mind Craig Diaz. It's no
I'll tell you what else is crazy enough. And there's some amount of Crokes boys getting chances.
Yeah, and the Fianna lads in his own club.
Well, yeah, but there's an awful lot of Crokes lads.
Yeah.
An awful lot. I think he had 2 or 3 debutants the last day. They were both Crokes.
Yeah, Dan O'Brien and as well.
But that's the one area that you think they're weak, and I suppose he's trying to bring someone in but they do have like Padder O'Coffey Byrne is there as well, Darren Gavin as well, who haven't seen any league time yet. So it's an interesting one. It's a pity for Craig, obviously it didn't go a bit better for him. He's probably going to get another chance though. They're looking like they're going to be. It's looking like it's going to come down to when they play Galway in the last game. There's a fair chance that both of them will already be through to the league final. There's a fair possibility that will happen because both have to play Meath yet, so that's probably going to be another 2 points that they're both going to pick up. So there's a fair chance that could be a dead rubber, and you could see Craig Diaz out there again, and you could see a few more. I always think Craig Diaz, which I always think of like Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz.
Actually, it must have been around that time that he last played that I was watching the game from the press box, but I was also listening to RT Radio, and Marty Morrissey was commenting, and by mistake he called him Cameron Diaz. Happened to Bishop. God knows how many times we said the wrong thing. Yeah. So it's no slight on Marty. So moving on to Division 2 then. Cavan are top of the division, 211 to 111. Third win in the bounce for Cavan. They're absolutely flying.
Yeah, we had the epitaphs. Everyone had the epitaphs well written when Armagh beat them by double figures in the first round. And then it's amazing, you start stacking up things. Bet by, you think 13 points in the first round. Killian Clark is gone. Darren McVitie's gone. I think it was the captain from last year is injured as well. Conor Mina's gone as well, and now they've just suddenly turned it around completely. Really good result they went for Fermanagh, having beaten Laois last week on the road as well. So they're up top and in a really good spot again to go back up to Division 1 again. 5 points for Grode McKernan. And Fermanagh need to win 2 of their last 3 games to have any chance of staying up in Division 2, which of course has Tier 2 ramifications. Yeah. It's either that or get to an Ulster final, and I don't know if you've noticed, but it's fairly hard to get down Ulster final, especially it's a bear pit. Quick word on Division 3. Cork still top there after winning 3-13 to 21 points against Tipperary. Tipper up by 12 points to 1-6 at the break. Yeah. And Rory Dean had scored the goal, and Cork, they'd only scored 1 goal before that game, and then 3 in the 1 goal. So that's encouraging because they're going to, like, the big worry for them is they're on the same side as Cork in the Munster Championship. Cork and Kerry are on the same side, and if they didn't get promoted, you're looking at possibly Tier 2, because you'd still fancy Kerry to edge that game, even if they were quite close last year. Yeah. So that this would take some of the pressure off. So they're currently 3 points ahead of Longford, who are second. Well, Longford, Derry and Offaly and Down, they're all on 5 points, kind of joined second. Cork have dealt with the pressure very well, to be fair. They've, even against Offaly, they were well down at half time and came back and won the game convincingly. There's a fair bit of pressure on their shoulders. Everybody expects them to win all their games, and they should win all their games, and they are winning all their games.
Would it be hard to get yourself up for Division 3 games if you're Cork, knowing realistically if we're playing anyway well, we're far better than this?
I think the Tier 2 thing should mean that it should be no way it should be hard to get up for, in fairness. That's probably, in a way, it's probably a nice thing to have there in the background. They just basically can't take their foot off. I'd imagine they're going to go home to win all their games, and they're making a pretty good fist of it at the moment.
Longford aren't a bad team, but like Down probably feel they should be winning by more than 2-13 to 1-14.
That was that a late goal as well to win it, I think, as well.
But like, Longford have lost a lot of players. But then again, I think you'd have thought Longford would do worse this year, considering all the lads who've either opted out or aren't on the panel. But there's probably, maybe it's a case that Pádraig Davis is happy to go with players who don't have the same reputation, but possibly are just as good at players.
And might have longevity out of them as well, because chances are they're probably a lot younger as well. You look at it, like, I thought Clare would really struggle, and while on the face of things, points wise, they are struggling.
Yeah.
The results are, like, they were beating a point by Laois. Laois were holding on at the end of that yesterday. And you look at the same with Longford, missing an awful lot of bodies, some really good results. That was their first defeat yesterday, I think.
By the way, I think Westmeath are 3-12 to 2-15. That sounds like like a decent
Jimmy
game.
Clark scored his 20th goal for Armagh in injury time to get a draw. Like, Westmeath are going well, and they'd be sick that they let that league go, but at least they got something out of the game anyway. They're going well. There's 4 or 5 evenly poised on 5 points. Offaly got a good result against Leitrim. I think Leitrim got a black card or sending off at a crucial enough time. Bernard Allen's playing great stuff for Offaly at the moment.
Derry beat Louth 2-10 to 1-9. Then Division 4, Paul Galvin, nice win there, 4-15 to 1-9 over London.
They were beating them. It took 20 minutes, I think, before London scored. That's 3 in a row, in fairness. Having been bet by Antrim in the first game, they've won their next 3 and are leaving themselves in with a shout of Division 4 final, in fairness. Limerick
battered Wicklow 5-10 to 1-14. Well, it's not a battering, but comfortable enough. Antrim drew Carlow 11 points to 1-8. And then Waterford, big win up in Sligo, 2-12 to 16 points. I was in Croker the other night, and people kept coming out of the woodwork going, "Did you hear about Waterford beating Sligo?" So that's a huge result there. So
I believe they only had 13 training during the week.
Yeah. Was it 19?
No, 19 travelled, but they only had 13 fit to train during the week. 19 travelled. There was some people saying they travelled yesterday morning. They didn't. They travelled the Saturday night.
And if you're a Sligo footballer,
or they travelled the night before, whatever it was, if it was on Saturday, travelled the Friday night, yeah.
That's unbelievably poor from Sligo, isn't it? I mean, at home to be losing to Waterford, and I know things haven't been going unreal for them anyway.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a team that lost every single league game in Division 3 last year. A scoring difference of -48, so you're getting beaten by 7 points plus in every game. Do you know, that's...
That, and also, like, Sligo started with 2 wins, and I think was it one of them, their first win in like 1,000 days or something along those lines anyway. And you're thinking, okay, they're back on board now after getting a win or 2, and then just that's a disaster result. Wicklow beat them the previous week.
Yeah.
So, like, whatever chances they had of promotion are probably gone now. Now Waterford, there was probably some signs that Waterford were coming. They should have beaten Wexford in Fratterfield the week before. It was 2-3 day points in one of the worst games of football ever played. But Wexford managed to get a result. But it's some result for Waterford. 19 players travelled, 2 of which were goalkeepers. So it's 17 outfield players to pick for 14 positions and 3 subs. Like, fair play to Benji Whelan. In fairness, like, he's operating probably off scraps.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a great, like, just for them, what that will do for them for the summer, just to get a result like that against the grain. I think they're playing Limerick in the Munster quarter final as well. Well, Limerick are flying, but at least that's a very winnable game. Not playing Kerry, or they're not playing Cork. So at least, we've had a league a league win. Maybe we'll try and get another win. Go into that Limerick game with some sort of optimism. But it's a serious result for them, in fairness.
I think we've it all said, have we?
All done.
Alright, if there's something we missed, let us know and we'll have a chat about it.
Sound lad, you'll get
Thanks for watching Our Game. Don't forget to like and share the videos, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe.